Today we're going to go over AUDUSD as a pre-week analysis. We're going to do a top-down analysis. I'm going to try to do it in under 10 minutes. Have a quick, nice top-down analysis. Here we go. So what we've seen from the daily is from April 2025 all the way to basically now. So a year later, it basically hovered in between these areas from 0.63750 up to 0.67. So that's the range we're looking at. We're going to use this as a major support level on the daily. So what I'll do is just draw a ray. So that's a major support level right there. That's for the daily though. As we can see that the daily went down from a downtrend starting here. So this is the peak that it reached at for that year. And then it went right down to this downtrend right here that we saw. And then once it broke, it literally just shot out of that downtrend. So that was the range that it was in. We saw it start to pinch, tap this line twice, then broke through. So now we are in an uptrend. The uptrend really started from this level, and then once the EMAs crossed at the 50 and 200, the 50 is the green one, 200 is the red one, that's when we saw it start to go up. And then it reached this high point, which basically was the previous highs over here. So as you can see, it reached this high point right here, and that's where this high point was for that year that happened in September. And then as you can see right now, that's where the actual current market is right now also. So it retested back to this high point. So we're going to use that also as in resistance / support. So it's a previous high right there that we saw, or a previous, so this is a shoulder move that didn't retest all the way into these areas. So that's kind of where we could see this next move kind of happening at. And then it came down, broke below the EMAs, retested the EMAs once more, then pushed down to create a whole nother leg of that move. So honestly, this candle right here is where the gap last ended at. So what I would do for the daily, and this is giving us our overall long-term type of moves. So the main reason why I look at the long-term moves is to understand what's actually happening in the markets at this moment. For me, seeing this range up here that created a gap on this previous move that happened in 2024 in October, and then this whole move happening throughout that year 2024, and then 2025 starting to build its way back up basically from this move. And it was slow movements within the daily. And then as we saw at the end of 2025, that's when you had basically September, the leg kind of pushed down a little bit from it testing the higher level, and then it basically collected liquidity down here for sellers thinking it's going to go down and collect this, and instead pushed back up into November, into December. So then it pushed back up, respected the EMAs. Now you're starting to see this 50 EMA starting to curve upwards a little bit more, and then you're seeing a gap that's kind of starting to take. So now you're starting to see higher highs and higher lows, higher highs and higher lows, and you're seeing it test this previous low here, which that daily did close above. So that's a good thing that we're seeing there, is that the daily did close above on that previous low. And it's respecting the market structure that has already kind of happened as of right now. So this is really all the moves we really need to see on the daily. And we'll scale down and get imbalance right there. That gap happened right there. But I really just did the whole previous candle that was left, and then where it started its initial move to the downside. That's where it's going to try to test to if it does. And then we'll see a reversal downwards towards previous levels. But as of right now, what we're seeing is what it's doing right here. So we'll scale down to the 4 hour. So as you can see on the 4 hour, you see how clean it was. It pushed up, like we said, for that high level right here. Started creating lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. Stayed at this level, respected this high here, this high level here that was at. Then pushed down, creating another lower low, breaking this level. And then pushed to these gaps right here that happened. So then you're seeing that it did push down. It respected these levels. It pushed down to the gap. Respected that level right there. It didn't push below. Started to push back up, chopping, kind of collecting liquidity, collecting buyers and sellers right there, but respected this low that happened. And then you see a reversal back up to this level here. So the reason why I drew this level out is because you see there was 1, 2, 3 taps that happened, but you wouldn't be able to see that while it's happening, but you can see it now afterwards. That gives you more confirmation of where we're at. So then you get another one that happened here. It respected these lows, created a higher low, then pushed up, broke that structure into there, but then respected this and respected the line. So now you have a trend line going down, and then you had it pushed down basically in November, in the middle of November, for a shoulder ahead and a shoulder move, and then it pushed down to then completely close this gap. So what we saw here, it did close the gap, but it didn't close it all the way. So then it pushed back up, was held down, and then it completely closed the gap and even retested to this major support line that we had on the daily. Once it did that, you saw the wick. The wick definitely rejected this level, and then you're starting to see it push up from there immediately, basically at the end of November. And from that level, that's when we saw AUD push through. It pushed back up to this level. You wanted to see if it was going to respect it, but it broke through. And then it retested the trend line multiple times. Slightly on this 4 hour, it'll look better on the 1 hour. And then you got the push back up to the highs for that year. And then that high for that year is also the shoulder that happened here. So that's where it pushed up to basically end the year. So it pushed to that level, immediately rejected it once it touched that level, came back into the EMAs, basically retested these highs that happened here in this whole liquidity area right here, and then pushed back up. So now you're seeing that it broke through, retested, broke up to the highs, retested, didn't break through the highs. Then on this move, the remainder of December broke through, which is kind of telling us that, okay, this next year is looking a little bit bullish as of right now. At least it's going to start in a bullish type of way. So then you get here. This is December 29th, Monday, and the market's kind of slowed down at the end of the year, but then it gave us good action to start the year. So Monday, January 5th, 2026, that's where we're starting to see it start to push up. And we're seeing the market structure creating higher highs, higher lows, higher highs from this high, higher low, retesting these highs that happened here, and then a higher high once more. And then right now we're currently at a higher low, but we are inside the EMAs, and we're seeing that the structure that's happening here is basically respecting the major highs that happened, and like we said, the highs that happened here, or the high that happened here that pushed it down. That's what this whole market's playing off of right now. So this is definitely a major support or resistance level that we're playing off of. What I'm going to do, we already have the line there, but what I'm going to do is kind of put a little bit more detail into understanding exactly where we are at on the 4 hour. So really what we're looking to see from this level is for it to either respect this zone that it's in, and then push up from that level, or it's going to break these lows here, and then start pushing down to this here on a 4 hour play. So I'll mark that zone out right there too as a 4 hour play. We really want to see it respect. We want to see it respect the market structure that it's already created throughout this past few months. So we have a 4 hour target retest point right there. And then obviously if it starts breaking above these levels, then we're seeing it respect the market structure, which we wanted to break above the EMA and then kind of test these levels once more. So we are currently in a low right here and then a high zone right there. So what we're looking for is for it to break. Either going to break it, but we already see it tried to test that level that happened, and then it wicked down strong and then stayed above even in the week. So that's the moves we're seeing there. We have the 4 hour target / retest point. That would be a breaker structure right there, and that we'd be looking for. It is in this 4 hour high low zone also. And then, yeah, we're seeing that it's following market structure as of right now. So that's a good thing. Scale down just to get a little bit more detail. This is where I'm going to stop 1 hour right here. But to get a little bit more detail, you can see everything that we marked out already, from the trend line to the 4 hour zones. And now we're getting to the 1 hour zones. For the 1 hour zones, it does give us a little bit more confirmation and more details where we're at. So we did see it test these levels, these lows that we had. Then it broke structure here, it broke here, and then it retested back down to this previous high that happened right here. And then it started creating higher highs, higher lows, and higher highs to make this major high. This was higher than all the highs we had for the past year. Then we got pushed down. It tested back to this gap, didn't close it. So that's a good sign for us to still be able to push up for that level. Created lower lows, lower highs, and then started breaking into the EMAs that we see. And we also see that the EMA has crossed. But the EMAs cross every now and then, and it doesn't fully cross. So what we're looking for is for it to either bounce back up from this cross, or for it to retest to the 50 on the 1 hour and respect that level and stay below it. But what we've seen so far is, yes, it created a shoulder head shoulder move. It did test this level, but there is still, and that's what I'll do, is mark out that imbalance right there. So there's still gaps right there in that level that we just marked out for the 1 hour. What we are seeing also, market just opened right now, but what we're seeing that it's at is it's retested this level, and like I said, we want to see it respect this 50 EMA if it wants to push down. So we want to see it respect the 50 EMA. So I'll put a circle right there. We want to see it respect that level, or if it doesn't, then we want to see it break the structure here on the lows. So break that structure here. Remember, this 3 different time frames. The purple is the 4 hour, so we get the break of structure, and I'll put 1 hour break of structure. So now we have everything, every game plan type of move that we need. Yes, so we have our trend line, we have our 4 hour range zone / support resistance. We have this was 4 hour box, but for the break of structure, marked it out on the 1 hour right here for what we were looking for. And then we want to see on the 1 hour for it to either respect the 50 EMA or push down. Obviously previous highs that have been here, we have already retested the 50 EMA, and then we do have our target points down here for the lows if it was to break down. So once it gets to this level, we should definitely be looking for a bounce from this level back up to either retest these previous lows that happened here. That's if it does break down, and if it doesn't, then we're just looking for it to continue what it was doing, which is the uptrend, the market structure of higher highs and higher lows. If you zone out a little bit, you see the higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and that's kind of where we're at right now. We are inside the 50 and the 200 EMAs, but what we're looking for is to realistically follow the trend, continue to go higher highs and higher lows. If it does break that 1 hour break of structure that we just marked out, then we'll kind of look for it to target down to this 4 hour retest point that happened here, or that's here. If you look over to the left from this 4 hour retest point over here, that's all of this liquidity that's been right here. So that's a good point for it to retest to before it does push back up into higher zones, if that's what it's going to do to continue this year. Basically what I just marked out in the 1 hour, we want to see it respect this 50 EMA. So by respected, I mean hold below it as of right now, since we already are below it. Hold below it, and if it breaks through, then that means, okay, we got confirmation for the high side, breaking that level. And then we can even have right here, so for the 1 hour, we'll just do lines, right, as the break of structure towards the high side. Break of structure, and you're seeing that the market's opening very strong to the low side, so it kind of is good for our confirmation. But it's just literally the first hour of the week, so we just got to see what's happening. Then we have the 1 hour bearish. So now we have our zones, right? We have our 4 hour retest point. We have our basically marked here was the 4 hour zone, but we marked it on the 1 hour break of structure point. If we see this thing break below that point, then we might just see it push right down to this 4 hour target level. And then I'm going to take this, I'll keep that there for right now. Basically, I marked that for it to respect the 50 EMAs, and then we have our 50 or our 1 hour bullish break of structure. If it was to break this structure, that means it's pushing up into this bullish level. So now we have all game plans. We see it from both sides. We see the possibility of it pushing down to this 4 hour retest point where we just saw that there's a lot of liquidity over here that would be bouncing to. From there, basically see where it's going to make its play. It's either going to do that, or it's going to respect this structure here to push up to the high side. And that's our game plan for the week. I'll be back with more updates of what's actually going on in the markets. Appreciate you, and let's go.